Hello and welcome to Westbridge Model Railway and this latest update, which basically covers September into October. And in this episode I'll be talking to you about my plans for the scenic side of the layout, and also related to that a little bit about lighting for the room and the layout itself. Probably becoming a bit more relevant now as we're into the autumn and winter won't be too far away. We'll have a little bit of running as well, of course. Might be a couple of new locos you haven't seen before. So without further ado, roll the intro. So before we start, if you haven't already subscribed, please do take the time, just hit that subscribe button down there and click the notification bell as well, so you'll get notified for all updates, not only of my videos for the model railway layout, but of also my trips out. So recently you would have seen the last working of the Centro Livery 323221 going into store. I've been to Whittlesea to cover the semaphore signals, which will be going soon. And then of course there's all my archive footage from the 1980s and 1990s you might be interested to. So if you could do that, that would be much appreciated. Right, on we go. So up until the last week or so, September had been pretty good and some nice dry days. So I have been out filming on the real railway, if you like. So this has taken a little bit of a back burner in here. But of course now the weather's gone downhill. There's a lot more rain about and days are getting shorter, a little bit colder outside at times. It'll give more chance to focus on the layout. So I have been planning the scenic side of the things, which I'd already got a rough idea in my head of what I was going to do. So what I'll do now is just run you around a circular tour of the layout, starting from the fiddle yard. We'll do a complete loop of the layout and I'll give you an idea of my plans for the various scenic elements of the layout. So starting at the fiddle yard, of course that won't need to be landscaped or done scenically at all, but just to give you an idea of where we're starting from. Excuse the temporary nature here, but basically where I've got that screen of trees there, that will be the break to the fiddle yard of the layout. So there'll be, you can see where the tunnel will be there. I will build an area up and over the tunnel there, so it won't go straight into the scenic break. Hillside there, I would think, probably maybe a little bit of a country road going over the top, and then obviously the trains will disappear into that area and you've got the trees and sky above it, which will hide the break into the fiddle yard. Not 100% decided whether I'll keep the building in the foreground yet as the wagon repair depot, or whether I'll just have it as sidings, but that won't really affect how I'm doing everything. And then behind here it'll either be a rock face or brick retaining wall, basically the opposite to what I should be doing at the tunnel at the other end, just so it looks different. And then as you come out of the tunnel here, that's a new back scene I've just got from Pico, because I wanted something with water in the background, hopefully to tie in with the realistic water area, which is going to go in this section here, just where the curve is. So I will cut out the section of board there and make an area and hopefully make it look like the water actually blends in with the scenic background behind. Not 100% convinced on the background yet. It is quite high, as you can see. I'm not sure whether it's supposed to be like multi-scale. I'm not sure whether it does look too big or not. You'll see for yourself when I run some trains by it. So that's a more realistic view that you'd get as you come out of the tunnel sections through the curves and where the realistic water will be to your right there. Well, you can see there what I mean about the back scene. I'm not sure whether it's too high or not. It looks like the water, you know, perspective wise is possibly too high up and away, so whether it needs, you know, say 3 or 4 inches of that cutting down to make it lower so it brings that sort of land level more into the foreground, I'm not sure, but your thoughts on that are welcome, so please drop a comment below. And then otherwise there'll just be sort of a grassy area in front and a break where the yard is here, which will just be a basically standard basic yard ballasted area. Might have a little ridge of grass between the two to separate the lines from the yard itself. That will then take you around into the tunnel section here, and the idea is with this section it's going to make to be look so it's not one continuous tunnel. So if you're coming in from this end, I shall make the tracks, hopefully it'll look like they carry on straight on and don't curve around, and the same will go for this side. When it comes through the tunnel here, it'll appear to go straight on and not curve round to the left. So as I mentioned, where the DMUs are behind, obviously that's just going to be all hidden. This whole area will be covered. That's part where the chimney flue is in the background, which might be a little bit awkward, but the fact it's on an angle, hopefully we'll be able to make it a bit more so I can, when I create the tunnel itself, you'll see a difference between the left hand side and the right hand side, so it makes it look like it's not one continuous tunnel. And then as I mentioned in the foreground, the 2 freight tracks here won't actually go through the tunnel, so that will either be a rock face or retaining wall, like I said, opposite to the tunnel on the other side. And I'm planning on making the majority of the tunnel section, you'll be able to lift it out so you can have access to the tracks while cleaning, or if there's any sort of problem. So it will just literally sit on the top. And then this one I'm planning on having a sort of ruined castle on the top of it. As we carry on round out of the tunnel, slightly change the back scenes again, just because I preferred more of a country setting to go there, so where you're coming off the branch line. It's always difficult where you get 2 different background scenes. And that's not too bad a join there with a signal box. You'd probably just about get away with it. Obviously the other option is to buy the same back scene again and carry it on, but then you're sort of repeating yourself. So in the foreground, I'm not entirely sure what's going to go on here yet. It might just be completely scenic where I've got the Kato Unitrack at the minute. Not decided on that. Certainly not going to be another yard or anything like that, but whether there will be any tracks there, I'm not sure. And then the bridge here, which will be a much bigger bridge. This is just a temporary what I had from a previous layout that I never got around to finishing. So this is going to be more of a dual carriage style bridge that will take you over and break up that curve there. Just got to work out how you're going to make that disappear into the distance so it doesn't look like it's going straight into the town or something, but I think going into the countryside there will work. Where the little heritage carriage shed and sidings are there, that's not too bad as it is, to be honest. I think that works quite well. Looks a bit like a lot of heritage railways, like say somewhere like Loughborough or something. Obviously we'll just need all the detail putting in. Come through into the station area, so that's just, again, I've got a back scene on there which works okay. It's a sort of town retail park area back scene you can get straight off the market, but what I have brought are a load of low relief cardboard buildings I've got to make to put on the background there. So it might end up just being a blue sky background with those buildings in front, so it will look like a town. And obviously I should make the roadway, car park, station building will need to go on there. That's quite a large area to fill. And then the station itself, obviously that's still fairly temporary at the moment. It's in the right place, it's the right size, but I should probably have completely different platforms. Obviously there'll be much more suitable canopies for it. I'd like to have a footbridge, but I could also just get away with making it an underpass if I didn't want to do that. But I think a footbridge in there would look nice. And then, as I've mentioned previously, I'm still not 100% decided on the depot layout and the sidings here, but it's pretty close to where I want it to be. I think we'll have some hard standing outside the depot, and I'm hoping to have an inspection pit. I think there's just enough room I can make a sunken inspection pit in there, which would look good. And then obviously that takes us then round to the bridge which you've seen before, which again on the other side will be the scenic break. So similar to where I showed you with the trees on the other side, there'll be a background section over here which will just be, I think, blue sky for this one, and then this trains will disappear into there, into the field yard behind that. So this is a section you don't normally see because it's behind the camera. You can see where the tripod mount is there, and that's a rather large light which I use for lighting on some of the duller days and certainly at night. Basically that's going to be where the heritage yard, depot, turntable, etc. are going to be there. And then, as you've probably seen before, then that's the heritage branch. So there's not a lot to that. Obviously there's not a lot to landscape or scenic wise there itself. I think that looks quite okay as it is at the minute. Might do something just in the foreground on the grey just to make it look a bit more realistic if you're shooting from a lower angle, but other than the actual detailing of the station, once you get to the ballasting, there's not a lot of room to do any scenic work on there, to be honest. So this is the heritage shed sidings and turntable area here. So the idea here is obviously the line to the heritage branch swings around here, and then what I want to do is make it so that this section down here just temporarily got a little shed and scrapped steam loco. Where the line is across there will be a scenic break, so the idea is the heritage section will look completely different and not related as such to where the shed and everything is, and then the shed you would just effectively look as if you were looking at it from this angle and it was actually joined to the main station. And I think with the large shed there, I think that'll look quite nice. I'll leave this bit open on the front so you can look down and into the shed from this angle, and then either side of it will just have a retaining wall or a bit of a road or something, and again that will join in the scenic break for where the fiddle yard is there. So hopefully that gave you a rough idea what I've got planned for the scenic areas of the layout. Probably difficult for you to sort of visualize exactly what it'll look like. Got a rough idea up here in my head what it's going to be like, but I'm sure when it comes to actually doing it there'll be sort of small tweaks and adjustments need to be made here and there, but essentially that's how I see the layout building up over the coming months or potentially years, depending how things go. I still need to get an airbrush at some point. Things like the bridge section and station, various other elements are going to need spraying into relevant colours suitable for the area that I'm doing. And of course I'd like to have a go at airbrushing some locos and stock at some point, maybe further down the line. So that's something we need to try. Platform sections, I've got some of those on order. Again, they'll need airbrushing as well. So there's plenty there to keep me occupied going ahead now. So hopefully you'll stay tuned and see how I get on with all of that. So this is the laser cut kit for the station platforms and canopies that has just arrived that I was talking about. Looks exactly the sort of thing I was looking for. So I should look forward to weathering that up. As I say, need to get myself an airbrush, and then obviously I can start on that, but at least now it gives me the right sizing, so I can still make sure it fits in with the platform. But as I checked in advance, and it is the same width as the platform I've already got in, it shouldn't be a problem with the track. So keep an eye on that for a future project. That's a small selection of the castle ruins that I've got, which will be going onto the tunnel in the corner that we looked at. So I think that'll fit in quite nicely with the area I'm modelling, and obviously that'll be quite a feature on top of the tunnel once it's finished. So these are the low relief cardboard buildings that I've cut out ready to put behind the station area. Now I'm going to mount these on a long board behind rather than put them on the window itself. Two reasons for that basically. The first being that I still want to be able to open the windows on the warmer days, and obviously putting them against that is going to make it a little bit awkward. Plus the other thing is it's a bit awkward to work over the track and everything, so I can put them on a board and then work on them or wherever and mount them on at a later date. So lighting is quite important for your model art layout, not just so you can see obviously what you're doing and where the trains are running, but also helps give that effect a little bit more realistic, especially with the background scenery. So you want the right level of light for that. You don't really want to be casting too many shadows if you can help it. Now, all I've got in this room at the minute is one single smart light bulb just up here at the moment. I've got a lighting box just behind the camera as well. So none of those are on at the minute. Obviously the video cameras do give off a better impression of light than there actually is the light level in the room. So I'm just recording this bit now at just coming up to 11 AM. It's a dull and damp day outside and it's quite shadowy, so the only actual light that's coming in is from the one window over to my left hand side here, which is basically on the north side of the house. So sunlight wise, get very little light directly into this room. Get a small amount in early in the morning, comes in through that side of the window, and then at the end of the day would be coming in through that side. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing because I haven't got to worry too much about the sunlight bleaching like the station, the buildings, locos and stock and everything like that, because I get very little direct sunlight comes through here at all. So that does work quite well to my benefit. But on the other hand, obviously, especially on the dull and dark days, you need some lighting in here. So what's the best way to go? So at the moment, there's no light on in this room. I'll just take my smartphone here, stick the app on, and we'll select the light for here. Turn that on. So hopefully you can see that's just made a little bit of difference there into the room. Like I said, the light is just up here. It's just one Philips smart bulb. So I can obviously adjust the brightness and different levels on that. That's about as bright as it will go at the moment. Obviously that's okay for working. It lights the station area down here quite well. But the rest of the room, certainly the fiddle yard, the heritage line behind the camera, little bits in the corner over there, obviously not so well. So we need a bit more light for that. But that's just to give you an idea of what one basic light does. So now I've added in a light box, or it is actually one of those SAD lights, which is behind the camera now, and that, as you can probably see now, lights the room up quite nicely. So that, especially when I've been working in here in the evenings, that's what I've been using as well. Obviously I do have a couple of desk lamps for working when I'm working in close detail on things on the worktop itself, but otherwise that gives you a good idea now of how it actually looks in here with both of those lights on, and that's pretty much as bright as it gets in here at the moment. But again, you still have a little bit of an issue because that obviously is casting a lot of shadows, as you can see behind me now. So if you are being a little bit picky and you want everything right, when you're filming trains behind me, you are getting really long shadows on the back scenes, which is not necessarily what you want. Now, as you can see, I've just zoomed out a little bit more, and above me around the room here now, we have essentially what are some Christmas lights. They're just LED cool white string lights, 10-meter section, which just literally goes around the whole room. Now, obviously now during the daytime, you can't see that makes much difference, but at night, the effect is quite interesting. It does look a little bit bluey on camera, but it's quite a nice light. It's almost like a bright full moonlit night. Now with just those on and running Loco's Rant, I've got the headlights built in. It does look quite nice actually. So we'll probably have to revisit that a bit later when it is actually dark, and I'll show you what that looks like and you can give your opinion on that. So I definitely need better lighting in here. That's one thing that is for certain. Quite how to do it, I'm not sure yet. So if you have any suggestions, please drop them in the comments down below. That'd be great to hear what you use for your layout. One option I'm considering is putting on some shelves on the wall along here and on the wall behind me there, and I'd probably then do the same on the heritage line behind the camera. Probably do some of those floating shelves, and then what I could do underneath those is put some possibly LED strip lights that would go directly down on the layout. And now as the shelves would come out, I don't know, probably good 6 to 9 inches depending on the type of shelf you buy, that means the light would be more directly over the layout as opposed to either behind it or in front of it, so the shadow issue wouldn't be quite so bad. So if you're doing any filming or photography, then you wouldn't be having the shadows from the locos and stock cast on the scenic background. So that's one thing I'm considering at the moment. The other option would be just to have something almost like do the same with the strip lights directly around the room, almost enclosing the rectangular area where I'm standing in now. So again, the light would be going down that way onto the layout either side, and would also give me plenty of light for working in here as well. Need to look into that a bit further, but as I say, if that's anything you've tried or seen other people try, then please let me know. So those last few clips you watched there where it was probably at its darkest, all I was using for that was the one Philips smart bulb that I've got in the room, and I've got that dialed down to about 25 to 30%. You wouldn't certainly want to go any darker than that. One issue you get is you can't always see which direction the points are set in, so that's something bearing in mind. But just for a little bit of nighttime filming, it's quite handy. And having the smart bulbs and the ability to dial that up or down as desired is quite good. And there are a number of smart bulbs you can get, different even light bars in that, so that might be something I'd look into. So I could light the room probably down sort of effectively around the square area, as I like brightness when I need to be working or doing anything like that. But then you can have the ability to dial it down, and if you choose the coloured bulbs, you can even have a little bit more colour involved in it, so more of like a yellowy sun, if you like, as opposed to the bright white light. So as far as lighting the layout goes, there's still a little bit to be considered there. So I think that about wraps it up for this latest video from Westbridge Model Railway. The next couple of videos you'll see coming up after this will be more of my trips out. So there's a West Coast Main Line one, which there's quite a bit of interest to see in that one. And then an East Coast Main Line one that I shot just a couple of days ago. Absolutely glorious day for October. There's 56103 on freight, the East Midlands Aurora out. A nice double header with 66, 711 and 789, plenty of freight and lots of interest, so please do go and check those out when they're online. So that about wraps it up for this video from Westbridge Model Railway. I would think the next update we'll do from here will probably be coming sort of late November now that we're into mid-October. But if I can get something out before then, I will do. I do have a week off work, and with the weather now going slowly more and more downhill, it should give me more time on the layout. I hope to be doing a video that will be looking a bit about decoders and chipping locos and just showing you how easy or not, as the case may be, it is to do those, how to install them, programming, etc. So that's something to come up. There's obviously a little bit of work I need to do on the layout still, as I mentioned with track work. I've got a couple of dodgy points that have appeared already that are causing me sort of connectivity problems and even a little bit of derailing, so I need to look at those. They are older points that I'd reused from the previous layout, so I might need to get a couple of brand new ones for those, especially the one that actually feeds the fiddle yard in front just down here, because that is causing a lot of problems with power droppage there, so I think that's got to be replaced. But other than that, I'll say thank you for watching. If you've liked it, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe also if you haven't. Although I have nearly 10,000 subscribers, the views that I get on this and the other videos have just really plummeted lately. Somebody saying probably some of the subscriptions aren't getting notified, so just remember to click that bell icon if you haven't already for all the latest updates. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.